power and money synonymous?
Absolutely not. I mean, I believe money is an effect, like many things. It's an attribute to you. You do something, you get money. Power is something else. But if we talking about power, then I guess we can, that opens the door to be able to talk about influence. I feel like influence is just as important, or if not more important. Um, it's the balance. It's the balance between like male and female energy. It's said that men have power, women have influence. Um, so you know, it's hard to say which one is more important, but a hell of a blast together. You know what I mean, right? You and Yalom, right? A hell of a blast together, right?
This isn't about us, though. It's about
right,
you.
but I'm just saying, you know, that y'all would be able to attest to that. You know what I mean? To say that yes, that level of energy. Well, like when you get to that level, like yes, because some people liken it to having that soulmate, like for a man, like for this gentleman that I spoke with once before. He's been married for over 30 years. He knows what he brings to the table. He feels like he's very powerful for what he delivers. However, he feels like his wife is like is water that freezes in the cracks. You know what I mean? That makes the crack that much worse because of the influence that it has from the inside. You know what I mean? So and that was the way that he put it to me. So yeah, power is definitely not money. Definitely not money.
It's currency, only paper.
It's seen that way though, especially in the hood. If you got money, the man with the most toys is king.
Can you expand on that?
Well, you know, like I can only speak from my culture and my background. Like if you got money, you can make a lot of things happen. You can take somebody's life. You can give some life. People look at you a different kind of way when you got money. You know what I mean? You could be as dumb as that table over there, but if you get money, you know, people value you.
Can people fear you?
Yeah. If you seem bigger than any, like it's nothing to make somebody fear you. 9 out of 10 people have inferiority complex. So that's 90% of people walking around in fear all day. So it's nothing for somebody to be in fear of you. But you know, to make somebody move their feet, you know what I mean? I would even argue that power doesn't even go as far as respect does. You know what I mean? And I think that's more of that influential piece. Because you know, power can bring down a building, but respect can get a building made with no money. You know what I'm saying? Like just because people respect you, they will be wanting to do things for you. You know what I mean?
Do you think creative geniuses have an energy that people want to tether themselves to? Is it addictive?
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's why we buy CDs. That's why we buy magazines. That's why we buy MacBooks. That's why we buy iPhones. That's why we buy whatever we buy. That's somebody's creative genius put on display, and we want to be next to it. Especially merch. I think merch is like the best, like sale, like concerts and merch is like the best cash grab of all time because you already bought my CD. Now you paying to see me come perform live, and you want to buy my T-shirt to commemorate the moment. Is that not being next to creative genius? When you absolutely wield that same power to get on that same stage and perform your ass off. However, you rather pay for this person's creative genius and have that dosage of it to feel good in that small frame of time. You're not willing to do that work.
Is creativity, do you think you always have to be evolving to be a creative genius?
I think you know, there's no evolution without creative genius. You know what I mean? It's your ability to be able to modify self-imposed constraints. So like that is literally evolution. You know what I mean? I've recognized this one trend. I've built myself to fit within this trend, and now I want to do something else. I have to be creative in order to do something else. I need to be able to reinvent myself yet again, to be able to do something else, to do something differently. So you have to have creative genius in order to do that, and that's what we love. It's the ultimate human thing. That's why we're willing to pay for it when we can't access it ourselves.
Do you think sometimes you have to leave your environment to come back to it?
I think most times you have to. I got an uncle right now that's living out of town that he's been abusing crack my whole life. Like same with my mom, you know. But it's like he was like, yo, it's just something about Buffalo, man. Like if I come back there, I'm a smoke crack, and I liken that analogy a lot with my clients and with my scholars, with my students. I'd be like, you can go to rehab and you can spend a lifetime in rehab, but if you go back to those same nouns, those same person, places, and things, you're gonna be back on drugs again. It's just a matter of time. So what he did was he switched his whole environment. Geographically, he went down south. He went to the Carolinas, and he said he's doing well down there. He actually has a savings account. He's working. He's got himself on a good path, and he knows that being here in Buffalo is an absolute trigger for him. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
You talk a little bit about you leaving the community to come back and what you're doing in the community today. Your community being where you grew up and what your path of leaving it and then integrating back into it, and the stories and the ways that you're preaching and what you're trying to accomplish there. Can you walk me through that a little bit?
Well, I hope I'm not coming off as preaching, for one.
Ah.
But
Sharing your story.
right. I wouldn't say that I've ever left the hood, because I bring it with me everywhere that I go. It's much like being a part of a family, right? Even if you don't like the family that you're a part of, y'all still share some genetic, composition. You know what I mean? Like that's still your family. That's still your bloodline. At the end of the day, and probably how you feel, probably how as Yali feels is y'all part of a culture that you just can't get away from. You understand what I'm saying? Like this is gonna be a part of you no matter what it is. So if that indeed is true to me, then educating myself is also educating this entity that I'm a part of. You know what I mean? I'm only as good as this entity. It's Ubuntu, right? That's an African proverb. I am because we are. And that impact from those people, those persons that I shared those same avenues with, I shared those same ugly corners with, them